Hi everybody, welcome to Friday Sews. And this episode of Friday Sews is going to be a little bit different. Friday Sews was created by Jen from Today in Jen's Sewing Room. And she has a little bit different theme this Friday. She's asking us all to do Getting to Know Friday Sews. So we got 10 questions that we're supposed to answer. And so the first one is our name. So, hi, my name is Sherry, and this is Granny's Sewing Room. And this turned out to be a good time to do something like this just because I didn't do a lot of sewing this week. The only thing I got kind of done was I made 2 mock-up bras. I'm trying to learn to make some bras. So, and I will be doing some, once I get the fit and everything going, I will be doing some tutorials on how I go about sewing and making a bra. But the first question was our name, and my name is Sherry. And the next question is, where are you from? Well, I am from Omaha, Nebraska. I've lived here, born here, and never left here. So that is where I am from, born and raised in Nebraska. So next question is, how long have you been sewing? The first time I ever sewed was in home ec in junior high. I made an outfit, and then after school I didn't do any sewing until I had my first child. And then I sewed his whole nursery, his whole bedding set, the skirt, the curtains. I did all that, and painted. That was the next time I did any type of sewing. And then after my kids got a little older and was doing trick-or-treating, I ended up getting a sewing machine that was already in a cabinet, and I don't even know what type of sewing machine it was, but I sewed their Halloween costumes. And that's probably the extent of my sewing in my 20s, was just sewing my kids' Halloween costumes. And then I picked up sewing again. I started sewing clothes for myself when I was going to church, making dresses and stuff. And one of my very first machines was a Pfaff, but I found it was too hard to learn, and I took it back, and I ended up getting a Bernina, and I love that Bernina. So I used to sew on a Bernina, my very first machine, and sew me some clothes, dresses when I went to church, and that was probably, I bet, in the 90s then. And then I ended up getting a serger for Bernina. I think it was a Bernetta or something, one of the older ones. But I'm going to post a picture of all the sewing machines that I have right now currently, and naming them all right at the top of my head. I couldn't name them all, so I'll just insert a picture of each sewing machine I have. Sergers I have, embroidery machine I have. One of my very favorite machines, embroidery machines, I got from Walmart, and it was the Walt Disney collection, and I used that thing. It was like a $500 machine, and I used it until it broke. That was the machine I first started quilting on, and that was probably 10 years ago. So, and the next question is, self-taught or classes? The only class I ever took for sewing was in home ec. I lived with an aunt, and she sewed a lot. She sewed some of my clothes, and I would watch her, but she never really taught me. She just sewed. You just kind of watched and knew she did it. But I am a self-taught sewer. I taught myself how to make those Halloween costumes and my own dresses, just, follow the instructions on the pattern. So I am basically a self-taught. I took a class one time, and I probably only made it there 2 times because they made me feel, really stupid, because I tried to buy fabric that's more economical, and they kind of thought my fabric was too cheap, and they were looking at, back then, $30 for a yard of fabric. That's how I remember it anyway, and I thought, and to ask a question, it was like, made you feel really, really stupid. So I thought this wasn't for me. So I'm a self-taught, and YouTube has brought me a long ways. I love YouTube. If you don't know anything, you go to YouTube and you'll learn it. I'm a visual learner. I like to learn visually. So, 6th question, knits or wovens? Well, when I started out, the only thing I knew about was wovens. And wovens are, to me, hard to sew with. You can never get it to fit. It's stiff. Wovens were very hard to sew with. I managed to sew with it as I was making my dresses, but my favorite fabric at the moment are knits. Knits are so forgiving. They just kind of form to your body and don't show your mistakes or show all your problems. So I'm a knit person. I love my knits. 7th question, the big 4 are the indie patterns. Grew up with the big 4. I always sewed the big 4, and when I was much smaller and bodies were kind of, everybody had the same type of body type of thing, you could take it right out of the pattern and it pretty much fit you. Not so much these days. I have such a hard time sewing with the big 4 patterns because they just don't fit. And just because this one you might get to fit, the next 5 you won't. And it really discouraged me from trying to sew, because it was like playing Russian roulette. You didn't know if you were going to get it to fit you or not. So I am not a fan of the big 4 patterns. I have tons of them, and every time they were on sale, I'd still go get them. I loved to get them and loved to buy them. But I have learned about the indie patterns this year, and I'm in love with the indie patterns. And so far, I'm thinking that's where my favorite is the indie patterns. They so much closer to a fit right when you sew it. You follow your measurements and you're getting a very close fit. And so I like knits and indie patterns. And then the 8th question, online or in-store? I would love to go to the in-store and touch my fabric, see my fabric, feel my fabric, but we don't have a lot of in-store fabric places here to go purchase fabric, so that has taken me to online shopping, which I was always scared of doing. But this, like I said, this year I found the indie patterns, and I have been watching some YouTube ladies that buy from certain fabric places, and I kind of followed their lead. And so far, I have been happy with buying online. That is not my chosen way to purchase fabric. I would much prefer going to a store and buying my fabric. Going to Joann's, I have a real hard time with Joann's just because their customer service is very poor. So they're not helpful, and they don't seem to want to be. So I'm online shopping. Next question, number 9, your favorite sewing task. I'm probably weird when it comes to this, but my favorite sewing task is I like putting in sleeves. Something about putting the sleeve in and you get it to fit, and when you get them seams to match, that's probably why I like to quilt a little bit, but when you get your underarm seam to match your side seam and it's perfect, and getting that sleeve to fit in and ease in, and I like putting in sleeves and lining up seams to match each other. That's my favorite. I kind of dread it at first, but I get excited when I do it and get it done right. And then my next would be pressing. I love to press the seams. I love to press. So those are my two favorite tasks about sewing. Cutting out, I just got a projector, so the indie patterns, cutting them out, I'm finding they're a little bit easier this way, but I haven't been at it real long. I've only done about 3 or 4 cuts now, but I'm liking that. So, and since we got rotary cutters to cut them out, the cutting isn't such a bad thing as it used to be. I used to really hate pinning it, cutting it, but now you put weights on and rotary cut, so that's getting better. And then the last question is my best advice to give a beginner. Best advice is to don't get scared about cutting into the fabric and making mistakes. Don't give everything a try, and know that you're going to make mistakes, but the more you practice, the better you become. And I don't know, just stay with it. Don't give up. Don't get discouraged. And watch a lot of YouTube channels. Find a sewing support. I mean, right now it's YouTube more than it is in my area. I don't even know of sewing groups that sews garments. I know there are quilting groups, and sometimes they can be a little intimidating too, because they think we're all at the same pace, or they think there's a quilting police. If you don't do it just right or just their way, it's the wrong way. But there's a lot of different ways to get to the point you want to get to with your fabric or your garment making and your quilting. So my best advice is to give it all a try. Try it all, and don't get discouraged. Just sometimes you might have to just walk away from something, and then you'll come back, maybe in a few hours or the next day, and it'll work out for you. So don't give up, and find it fun. Find the process fun. I was there for a while sewing for people, and that's what I did, embroidery, but then the process was a chore, and when it becomes a chore and not enjoyable, then it's not going to be fun. And sewing should be about fun and seeing what you made, how creative you become. And remember, what you make, nobody else will have that. Your outfit, your garment, your quilt, whatever you make, it is a one of a kind. My oldest granddaughter, she always wanted me to make her Christmas dress, and I said, we can go buy them much cheaper than Granny making them. And no, she said, Grandma, nobody else has the dress that I have, that you made me. So she kind of tricked me into making her Christmas dresses for her programs each year. So that's true. Nobody else is going to have the dress she has, because, you can walk in a room and 2 people, 3 people are wearing the same outfit you are, but not when you sew it. So be encouraged that you're making one of a kind just for you. And so that was really fun to get to know each of us and our likes, what we have, what machines we have. You don't need to start out with expensive machines, but as you get better and stuff, you always want to get a different machine, and that's where I was. I got nice machines, but it's not necessary to have the nice machines, because I think my very favorite machine was a little brother that I had from Walmart, and it was my very favorite embroidery machine. I sewed and embroidered on that machine until it just broke. The insides were made with plastic, and I wanted to get it fixed, and they said it wasn't able to be fixed. So, and then that's what got me into buying machines. But I used to sew for myself and my kids in the 90s, and so I kind of got better machines. And if I had a choice to go get a machine right now, it would probably be my Bernina again. I liked my Bernina, and I liked Baby Lock. So Haven't been sewing, like I said, much this week. I am trying to work on learning to make bras. I've made 2 of them, and I've been gifted fabric that I've had for years and years ago, but I got to find, I think, a different fabric to make a mock-up because this one isn't working. But I will show you that on my next either fabric haul or my next Friday Sews. And the exciting thing that happened to me this week is my great-grandbaby boy, Braxton Lee, was born the 16th. So exciting news for my family that we have a brand new little beautiful baby boy that's in our family now. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Go do something creative, but remember, whatever you do, do it in the name of the Lord, and your blessings will always come back to you. So you guys go out and have a wonderful week, and don't forget that you are special in God's eyes. Bye-bye, everyone.